Hello, everybody. Pyramid Intell. So I was just talking to a friend, and he was saying that how it's funny, about how I drive in the car and talk and everything, and how it's very fluid. And I was saying it's very fluid for me because that's something I really, really enjoy doing. I've always loved to drive things, and I've been driving things since I was around 10. So for me, it is very fluid. And it's funny. It makes people laugh because for most people, driving is a very stressful experience, and they're having a totally different experience. But for me, that's how it is. And I'm able to channel information and everything it has more free flow. It certainly feels better for me. I know it's very distracting for some people when I'm driving all around moving my head, but I do it that way because it's better for me. I remove blocks. So I was thinking about that, and I'm thinking about how, if you're not moving physically, that's where the energetic blocks happen. And we know from a physical standpoint that the less that we move, the more our body starts to stick. But if you remember, if you're just energy, you're free-flowing energy and everything's vibrating, moving, it would make sense that to stop moving is going to be detrimental to your health. It's going to be detrimental to the entire flow of energy, which is information. So that's why everyone needs to do it. Okay. So we know that as far as aging and everything goes, to not stop moving, and there can be pains caused by too much movement, and there can be pains caused by not enough movement. So I would take my risk with the pains that are caused by too much movement over the lack of movement any day, because it's much easier to fix. And really, those happen because you haven't been moving enough to begin with, The other thing is, obviously, there is a stretching point where if you stretch something too far, it's going to snap. So there are limitations on movement, and they will differ with age. They certainly have up until this point. But as you begin to raise your frequency, what is a rise in frequency? It means you're vibrating faster and lighter. So in theory, if you're talking about a physical reality, but everything is actually vibrating, and the physical reality is vibrating faster and lighter, then you're going to have less injuries because there's less weight, right? So actually things are going to improve, and when you have the added benefit of the frequency medicine, which is going to have a complete restoration of the molecular structure and the ability to vibrate in a light and free way, then the injuries are going to be even less and certainly more reparable when you do have them. So there's that. And then there's throwing in the issue with the kids. All right, now I understand, especially with each generation that comes by, Generation Z and the one after. They're alphas, aren't they? Yeah. So they are a different breed, and I'm not telling anyone anything they don't know about that, especially the alphas. But they need a lot of movement and stimulation. It's really easy to put them in front of a computer and they won't move for 5 days. I do it all the time myself. But then what happens? I'm stuck. I am stuck in an information flow that is very specific and not engaging with the surrounding environment. And I'm also physically stuck because my body is not moving. I only have a free flow of information through the mind, but not through the body and even necessarily the spirit, depending on what it is that I've been observing and interacting with. So it's really, really, really important that, in my opinion, from a young age, that you engage body, mind, and spirit, the triad, so that they can all be equally balanced, because it's so much harder to restore the balance when it's become imbalanced. So everybody comes in with interests that they have in some kind of physical way. From my experience, the people who do not become engaged with physical reality is because they get caught up in the 3D energetics of competition, and it may not be their forte, and they're sort of bullied out of the ability to participate in physicality. So if you're dealing with kids or when you're dealing with adults, because really there is no difference, I would say find whatever gives you your highest joy and steer yourself, your friends, or your children in that direction of participation. It's not a strain to participate in something that brings you joy. Some people going to the gym makes them want to like rip their fingernails out without anesthesia. But that person may light up when they're playing croquet or badminton. I don't know, it doesn't matter. It's movement. And so find the joy on all of those things, whatever it is that you're trying to develop. For some people, the idea of going to church may make them cringe for whatever reason, but they may want to go on a meditation retreat. In my opinion, it doesn't matter. When you're reaching for spirituality, you're reaching for God and light and introspection and all things good and peaceful, then it's a benefit. So it's not a one size fits all, and it shouldn't be, because that would be boring as hell. So find your avenues and try to balance them out, and you will find that you're a much happier person. For example, I will sit in front of a computer for 2 weeks without moving. I get up for just when I really have to take care of bodily functions, and I'm fighting back from that because I have a lot of pain now, or I had a lot of pain because I'm coming out of it now. And I was like, but I have so much work to do. I just want to apply myself in this way. So I got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore because there was too much pain. And so taking out large chunks of time in order to care for myself in other ways, mentally, physically, spiritually, I technically had less time, and yet it's the grounding and the restoration of all sides of the pyramid structure that has actually accelerated everything that I was working on, which seems counterintuitive, but then time is in general if it's not real and it doesn't really exist, right? I was just having this conversation with, it's getting long now, but I was having this conversation with someone about technology, ancient technology versus modern technology. Is there any difference? How can there be if time is an illusion? But I'm going to leave that for another video because it's getting way too freaking long. But I hope you had a great time, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.